So today we are diving into two radical, and I mean radically different ways to think about achieving peace. These aren't just abstract theories. We're talking about actual blueprints designed to tackle some of the world's toughest conflicts. Let's get right into it.
You've probably seen this happen, right? It's so frustrating. People with the best of intentions get together to solve a really hard problem, and somehow the conversation itself just turns into another fight. Why does that happen? Over and over again.
Well, the thing is, it's usually not about bad intentions. The real problem is that these high-stakes conversations often fail before they even get started. Why? Because the people involved just don't have a shared context or a common language to work with. And without that solid foundation, even the noblest goals can totally fall apart into just misunderstanding.
Okay, so here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to dig a little deeper into why these talks fail. Then, we'll explore a fascinating model for building a shared foundation before the talking even starts. After that, we're making a huge pivot to a totally different idea. What if you could engineer peace through profit? We'll look at the engine that could power that whole thing, and finally, we'll ask the big question: where do you fit into this picture?
To put it as simply as possible, the whole challenge boils down to this. There's no common starting point. I mean, think about it. If people are working from completely different sets of facts, different values, different histories, how can you possibly have a productive conversation? It's almost impossible. So, how do you fix a problem like that? Well, one really interesting solution that's been proposed is a new kind of model. It's designed to very deliberately prepare people for these intense, difficult conversations before they even set foot in the room. It's called the From Foundation to Forum model. And the name says it all, right? The goal is to first build this solid, shared intellectual and ethical foundation. That way, when the forum, the conversation, actually begins, everybody is starting from a much higher place of mutual understanding.
And look, this isn't just sending out a reading list beforehand. Not at all. It's a deliberate three-part construction project. You're forging an ethical compass, charting a shared historical map, and sharpening the very lens through which you see the world. Let's break down what each of those really means.
First up, you have to look inward. Before you can even begin to debate these huge issues with other people, you have to really understand your own internal wiring. So this step is all about figuring out your personal ethics, defining what leadership means to you, and getting comfortable with the essential language of ethical debate. Okay, next, you build a shared set of facts. Now, this isn't about agreeing on the interpretation of those facts. Not yet, anyway. It's about agreeing on the raw data of history. People go through key timelines together, they analyze the pivotal documents that shape the region, and they build a common understanding of the geography. Everybody gets on the same map, literally.
And finally, the framework gets into how we all communicate. Because knowing the facts and the ethics isn't enough, right? This last step is about preparing for dignified debate. You learn to recognize your own biases, you learn to spot common logical fallacies when other people use them, and you master the art of separating facts from interpretation.
Okay, so that's one path. You meticulously prepare human minds for dialogue. But now, we're going to take a hard left turn. Let's explore a totally different and maybe even more radical idea. What if the best way to get peace isn't to change what's in people's heads, but to change the very system and the incentives that drive conflict in the first place?
And here it is. This quote is the core of the whole idea. Just let it sink in. When peace generates higher returns in conflict, conflict collapses under its own economic weight. We're not talking about moral arguments anymore. We're talking about pure, undeniable economic gravity.
And this brings us to this new concept called peace for profit, or PFP. Think of it as a massive strategic framework that uses economic engineering, basically building a system where stability and cooperation are the most profitable things you can do. The goal is to make violence and conflict just economically stupid, a form of financial self-sabotage.
Now, this might sound like some sci-fi fantasy, but it's presented as the next logical step in a journey that's already underway. The Abraham Accords showed that peace can be profitable. The proposed Cyrus Accords take that further, envisioning a future where peace is also about reconciliation. PFP is the idea of taking all that and industrializing it, turning peace from a fragile piece of paper into permanent, engineered infrastructure.
So, if peace for profit is the new operating system for civilization, what are the actual parts? How would you even begin to assemble a machine that makes peace the single most profitable business on the planet?
Well, the whole architecture rests on three huge pillars. First, there's something called Stargate. Think of it as a planetary-scale AI,
the brain of the whole operation. Second, you've got a real estate investment trust, or REIT, which is the financial skeleton. And third, something called the miracle bar, which is the crucial link connecting this giant system to actual human survival.
And this is how it's all designed to work. It's a self-reinforcing flywheel. It starts with consumers. More consumers create more demand. The revenue from that demand is used to buy real-world assets, like land. That land leads to more production, which the AI then optimizes to create a surplus. That surplus generates a higher yield for investors, which attracts more money, which brings in more consumers, and the cycle just keeps going, getting stronger and stronger with every single turn.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. A planetary AI, tokenized assets, a perpetual growth engine. This all sounds incredibly abstract, right? Like something out of a movie. How on earth does a system this huge and complex actually connect to the real, tangible world of a single person?
The answer is right here, in this incredible contrast. The whole system is designed to connect the mind-boggling complexity of a global network all the way down to the simple, fundamental reality of a single meal. How is that even possible?
The connection, the key to the whole thing, is the miracle bar. And get this, it isn't just a food product. It's designed to be a survival-backed currency. Its value is pegged directly to a basic human need. It's simple. 1 bar equals 1 meal. It makes the abstract value of this enormous global system tangible, measurable. You can literally hold it in your hand.
And this is why it's presented as such a de-risked investment. The value isn't just speculative hype. It's built on 3 really solid pillars. You've got the security of real-world appreciating assets like land. You've got higher profits because an AI is optimizing everything. And you have the stability of 2 completely separate revenue streams, one from consumers buying the product and one from investors funding the system.
So, we've just looked at 2 profoundly different paths to peace. One that starts from the inside out, by changing how we think and how we talk to each other. And another that works from the outside in, by completely re-engineering the systems that we all live inside.
Think of it like this. On one hand, you have the path of dialogue. It's all about changing human minds, basically upgrading our collective software. It depends on things like education and shared ethics. On the other hand, you have the path of engineering. This is about changing the hardware, our incentives. It relies on things like economic gravity and brilliant system design.
So this leaves us with a really fundamental question, doesn't it? Is the future of peace something that we build from human understanding, or is it something that we engineer from economic incentives? Maybe it requires both. But the ultimate question we want to leave you with is this: which path will you demand a place on?